Why is the Arctic Circle turning blue? That's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. Hi, I'm Nancy Rebecca with Intuitive Mind. If you're new to my channel, I work as a full-time psychic. I am a registered nurse and had a visitation from blue light beings back in 2017. So I welcome you to tune in and follow along with our story. So on December 15th, I noticed that there was a little bit of blue light that was coming through the Arctic Circle. But it was kind of just a touch of blue that I noticed, and there were just a little bit of breakthroughs that were coming through. So, but how did this happen? How it happened was I was kind of had my head down. I'm working, kind of finishing some things up at the end of the year and preparing for the new year. It was just before the winter solstice. And suddenly it kind of felt like, like a kid pulls on the apron strings. It was like the blue beings of light came in. And I was so focused, I didn't even notice that they were around. They got my attention. And as soon as I looked up, right in front of my face was a vision. And in this vision, at first I wasn't sure that it was the Arctic Circle. I didn't know if it was Antarctica, it was Arctica. All I know is that there was a lot of cold, there was a lot of ice, and there was a lot of blue that was breaking through. And so I'm like, all right, you have my attention. What's going on here? And so they were showing me that there was this really a photonic light of blue. It was almost like a liquid type blue, as one of my other graduate students was describing it, because later on I'll share the story where they were looking and it said it almost looked like a blue waterfall flowing upwards instead of downwards like gravity. So that's what it looked like. And so they had my attention. But this blue light that was coming through was only coming through in half of a circle. I could see that there was a lot of radiance of the aurora borealis. So I could tell that there was a lot of activity happening. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that in November we had 3 of some of the most enormous surges of blue light that we've had over the years. We definitely had the one in 219 in China. We had the one in 221 in Mexico, right outside Mexico City. But I really feel like those 2 surges were really preparing us for what happened in November, when we had 3 surges that went through Hopi Land, or the area of Hopi Land in Arizona, through the 3 mesas. So we definitely, those dates were, no, I think it was November 5th, November 18th, and November, I don't know, 25th, kind of hard for me to remember right now. But each surge was significantly different. But that first surge through the first mesa, it really broke open a lot of stuck energy that was in the earth. And so all of this blue light ultimately is assisting in the expansion, assisting us to open in our consciousness, to kind of awaken to a new way of being with each other as human beings, with animals, with plants, with nature, just with our entire earth. So, so they got my attention. And so I couldn't quite understand why this light was coming up from the earth, because it had been coming from the universe. It had been coming from the area of the dog star, of planet Sirius, the blue light beings. A lot of them were Sirian, some Pleiadian, some Lyran. I hadn't had visitations from others, but they were all here to assist. So I was talking to my brother, and I said, I'm struggling to find words to describe what I'm noticing, because yes, it's coming through the Arctic Circle, but it's also coming through different places in the world. And I will be talking a lot more and making some more videos about that. So you may be having the blue light coming through in your area as well. But my brother said something to me that really made a lot of sense. And he said, well, it sounds like what you're kind of talking about is a capacitor that's holding an electrical charge, that this capacitor has been really charged up with this blue light, and then it kind of discharges in the earth that blue light to the places where it's needed. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm noticing. And so then he was kind of describing, we're kind of talking together, but this blue light will come through some areas where it is a constant, steady blue. In other areas, it'll be short bursts of blue, but it always comes through in places of need to bring stability. Now, this particular blue light is not as dark of a blue light as I had noticed over the past several years. But I don't even know if I can describe it as turquoise or even like a sky blue. It's so luminescent, almost like it's got some hints of silver for sure and gold. But anyway, I was noticing this, and it made a lot of sense when he described it as the earth being this capacitor that was really supercharged with light in November. All right, so they had my attention, and what I decided to do was I did do a little bit of a visit in my astral body. I kind of used my clairvoyance to look at it, but I work with, I teach people, individuals, to really become very precise and accurate in their psychic skill and ability. And I've been doing this since 2007. So we have our graduate group of students that know how to travel in their astral body. So we got together after this, and I kind of explained to them what I'm noticing and asked them to get ready to travel to the Arctic Circle to see if they could see what was going on. So the information that I gave them was as much as I had obtained in my first kind of travel mission. And there were large walls of, can I describe it as invisible light? So it was like this invisible light. It really encompassed, the Arctic Circle. It was traveling quite high, like 30,000 feet high in the air. So I explained to them that once they get to this wall, this kind of barrier, they're going to have to travel high and above. They will probably be greeted there by the blue beings of light. And then at that point, they would ask for permission. Now, the students travel in their astral body, so they may travel with their guides and angels around them for extra protection. There were some that kind of imagined a blue kind of space suit. Others kind of created this toroidal energetic field around them as an extra kind of barrier or protection for travel. So they headed out, and I kind of stayed holding down the fort. I can see where they're going, and but I wait and hold the grounding. So what I will say, a lot of them had very similar experiences. Several went kind of under the water. They were taken way deep under the ice. They saw mer people there, mermaids, mermen, very deep into underwater. It was very blue. They could see that there was a portal opening. And one of the messages that they got is that the portals are going to begin opening between the spirit world and our human world or 3D world very soon. So there's a lot of preparation that's happening. Others went up all the way up to 30,000 feet high, and then they did ask for permission. There were blue beings of light there, but there were also blue angels, and they had these enormous wings. So for us, as we were kind of looking at this, trying to determine, are they the same or are they different? So I've already made a video about that, Are Blue Light Beings Archangels? So you'll be able to listen to that video, and I'll put the link in this one as well. So, but what we were all surprised about was how welcoming they were. We weren't really interfering. They were like, hello, welcome. Do you want to come on in and see what we're doing? So it was very inviting. And as they traveled down, many of them had a very similar experience. It was highly active. There was a lot of work that was happening. And it was almost like these clear, sorry, I just bumped my microphone, these clear, I don't know, like a computer system, but they had these hues of blue around them. Anyway, they had people kind of looked like they were sitting in front of screens. They were working at computer systems. There were others that were flying in and out. Now, one of the things we were curious about was the light that was going halfway around, the blue light. What we looked at, I got a globe. I love maps. You're going to find I love maps. And I have this globe, and I looked around the top, and it was like, oh, the side where there's light was Greenland, Alaska, and Canada. But on the other side where there was not light was Russia. So this kind of piqued our curiosity. So why is there light on one side, not light on the other? So I just kind of asked the students, let's just kind of stay away. I don't know what's happening there, and I'm most certainly not sure that we need to be interfering, or nobody's asked us for our help. And I don't know that they really need our help. But I will tell you there was one student, and there might be some of you who, if somebody tells you what not to do, that's the one thing you want to do. So I wasn't surprised that she went, but she just kind of flew a little bit closer to the kind of Russian border on that side of the Arctic Circle. And suddenly there was this energetic challenge, is how I'll put it. And she could feel the challenge. She didn't feel unsafe, but she could see that there was kind of a lot of energetic boundaries set up on that side. So anyway, she went ahead and went back to the Arctic Circle. She definitely got some more information. But what's happening at the Arctic Circle really has me surprised. It was like, what is it that is so significant? So when I asked them, they said that there's a lot of light codes. There's a lot of light codes in the ice that have been kind of frozen solid there for millions of years? I don't know how long the last ice age happened. But as things are starting to melt, these light codes are coming back into the atmosphere, and it's appropriate for them to come back into the atmosphere at this time. So that's why it's very, very active. But can you imagine, it's like walking into a party where you don't know anybody and you're feeling a little bit awkward. And as soon as you walk in the door, everyone turns and it's like, hey, how are you? My name is such and such. Can I get you something to eat or drink? Like you just feel so welcomed. That's exactly what it feels like up there at the Arctic. So at the Arctic Circle, extremely busy. The aurora borealis there's a lot of light there. And since that time, the entire circle has turned blue. So even on the Russia side, it's all turned blue. So it is an invisible wall. It's almost like it goes into a different dimension. If you go down underneath the ice, there's definitely other portals and other dimensions that are opened. There seems to be a lot of light coming up to stabilize everything. And so that's really what they were describing to me, that it's a very stabilizing energy. So the fast-paced work that's happening, they're saying, it's no stress, no worry, simple delight, kind of like whistling while they work. If you think of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, that's kind of what it was like. Let's see if I have any of my other notes. I already talked about that. Okay, so let me talk about how does this impact you at the human level? Like, what does it mean for you? What does it mean for your human energy field? Because I'm a nurse, first and foremost, that is what I'm most interested in is how is this going to impact you? How's it going to impact me? How's it going to impact the rest of humanity? So one of the things is it's bringing in more balance. There's a lot of balance that's coming in between the male and the female, but also more balance to your auric field. There's a natural balancing that's happening. It's almost like if you could reach down in the Arctic and there's a few dials and buttons that need to be pushed to help bring the atmosphere into balance. That's what I'm noticing. There's also an enormous, with this blue light that's coming through different parts of the world, it's a very supportive, stabilizing energy. And so wherever there is kind of disturbances or a destabilizing, whether it's in banking, whether it's in politics, or whatever war that's being destabilized, that's what I'm starting to notice is the blue light coming through to help bring stability. So wherever you are feeling unstable, there's this blue light that's coming in, and you can meditate with the blue light. And I will tell you, this last week, but especially in the last couple of days, life has, really turned upside down where, time and space makes a change. You're driving your car and you're like, how did I end up in this neighborhood? We had one of my students tell the story about at the grocery store, couldn't find the wallet, went to the car, wallet wasn't there, went back, and her wallet was in her grocery cart. So she gets that and she goes, wow, that's kind of strange. She gets all the way home and she doesn't have her wallet again. And these are the kind of things that are happening. She goes back to the store and they said, you placed it back in your cart. And she said, why would I do that? So if you're having some really curious, interesting experiences, I would love it if you would put that in the comments section so that when other people are reading it, they're like, okay, that's happening for me too. What do I think about those kinds of things? Either A, there's dimensional shifts, which can happen, and there can be other kind of playful spirits that are kind of being tricksters, that can happen as well. And that's the thing, if you shift into, you're in the 3D reality and then you suddenly shift into the 5D or maybe into the 12D and then you're coming back to the 3D, there's a lot of different things that can happen on those multi-dimensional levels. But let me just mention one other piece that they said is going to really start to help calm our nervous system. But the one thing they mentioned was neuropathies. So if you have neuropathies in the hands, neuropathies in the feet, it can either it's going to maybe increase some of the discomfort of the neuropathy, and it can completely eliminate the neuropathy. But if you have an increase in neuropathy, just know that there's a lot of active healing that's taking place. And so you just may feel more uncomfortable with it for a while. Just to say, and you can bring in the blue light through it. So about 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I did go through radiation. I did go through chemotherapy. So I just recently went for a doctor visit who was asking me, my neuropathy in my feet was pretty severe after the chemotherapy. And he says, how's your neuropathy? And I said, it's gone. And he's like, how's that possible? And I'm like, well, I was meditating and I just kept bringing healing energy through the nerves and the sheaths around the nerves to help repair any damage done by the chemotherapy. And he said, well, that's really interesting. So I imagine it's very similar the same way. Isn't it exciting to think that you might not have to live with neuropathies anymore, that we could heal in those ways through the quantum physics of healing energies and the blue lights, and as our body's becoming more of a light body, getting having a capacity to heal faster than it did before. I don't know if all that's going to happen and if it's true, but But I'm going to weigh on the side that it is, and I'm just going to keep focusing on that, because as a nurse, I would love to be able to experience those rapid healings that none of us had believed was possible in the past. So there you are. That's the story of the Arctic Circle. It's very active. If I'm just kind of taking a peek right now clairvoyantly, it is still a strong surge. It's still a strong surge of blue as it's kind of going in that ring of light. There is something about the ice. So I'm going to explore that a little bit more. But stay tuned in, because I am going to be tapping into all the areas that I am noticing it's coming up in the world. And it might be in your own backyard. So stay tuned. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.